All right. Hello, everybody. This is Coach Mike. I'm excited to have Rich Hewitt of the Dumpster Dudes with me today for an interview. Rich has hobbies of bicycles, dogs, and he's recently taking up target shooting and some of the zen of cleaning weapons, which is super interesting. I'm sure we'll get into that. And he's an entrepreneur and fairly newly minted entrepreneur, so he's also learning the lessons of how to give up your hobbies, and now he gets to go get back to them. So I'm excited to have a chat with you today, Rich. Thanks for being on the program, and I'm excited to welcome Rich Hewitt.
Hey,
How
Coach
are you?
Mike. Hey, Coach Mike. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the opportunity. I'm glad you reached out to me. I've enjoyed our conversation so far, and looking forward to the discussion today.
All right, so let's get straight into it and tell us a little bit
Sure.
about your personal story, where you were born, where you live.
Sure. I grew up in Whitefish Bay. Went to school at Whitewater, and after Whitewater, went to work for ADT Security and electronic security industry.
Hmm.
And after college, got married. Been married a long time, couple kids. One, that's how I skipped the year on that one, right? Or the
Yeah,
number of
yeah,
years. But
you know.
I've got my daughter recently graduated from college. My son is still in college, and we have a 7-month-old German Shepherd puppy, which has been a little bit more of a. We bit off a little bit more than we thought we would with this puppy, but we're working through it. As my wife says, the dog is smarter than us, and the dog is very smart.
Yeah, we're always surprised our dog takes as much effort as our kids used to take, it seems like, and we just have a little ankle biter dog. So,
Yeah, sure.
so what's a funny story your family tells about you that you might share with us?
A funny story, boy. There's probably more than I can think of. They do poke a little bit of fun at me for being known as like Mr. Safety and Security. I think
Oh,
part of
nice.
that was from the security industry I was in. I was always very aware of that. Worked with a lot of top security experts, and that sort of security and safety kind of go together. So they'll kind of poke some fun at me, being about safety and security, and I always try to impart some of those lessons, especially with my kids and things like that.
Sure.
So it's I think the funny part of that is it seems to always come up at funny times, especially during the holidays when the kids are home. They seem to kind of work those stories in, and quite often they're the stories I don't even remember, but everybody gets a pretty good laugh out of it.
Sure. All right, so tell us your story, how you came to be the dumpster dudes person, and what caused you to think you could run your own business like some of us think.
Yeah, so even as a little kid, I always wanted my own business. So, I had, my own lawn business with a buddy of mine when I was a kid, did lawns, snow blowing, paper route, kind of the usual. But, I was, cutting 14 lawns a week on top of a full-time job in high school. And in college, I studied franchises. I actually took
Really?
uh, 2 independent studies in economics, and I studied franchises and I studied business. And what was interesting is you would think that like a kind of like a self-guided independent study. Hey, that's just a blow-off class. Well, I'll tell you what. I had a really cool professor. Really liked his style. He was an economics professor. Really liked him. He let me go do my thing. I told him what I was going to do. I did it. I'll tell you what. I learned so much. I looked at buying franchises when I was a little kid. I looked at it in college, and it sort of stuck with me throughout the years that someday I always want to have my own business. Well, fast forward after several decades of work, last February, I just said to my wife, "Hey, it's time. I got to go do something." And I had no idea what I was going to do, but I did narrow it down to it is going to be a franchise, and I just have to figure that out. And the reason I was looking for a franchise is most of my background is in sales leadership, but, also security, design, engineering, some operational experience in there as well. And I know that, the marketing, the processes, the standards, all the details really matter. So I was looking for a franchise so I could just, here's the franchise and I could just go. And I
Yeah.
didn't have to spend, 2 or 3 years trying to, figure out the details. So I had even talked to some franchise consultants. I started researching. This is when the hobbies kind of went to the side because I had a full-time
Yeah.
career. I had a great career, worked for a great company, but I'm like, you know what? Now's the time. I've got to go. So as I'm researching all those things, very early on in the process, like maybe only 2 or 3 weeks into the process, it's a Sunday. I run across Dumpster Dudes. Just so happens I had been watching YouTube videos of dumpster companies, some dumpster companies out west and one down in Illinois. So I had already sort of gotten familiar. The business model fascinated me. There was another person on YouTube that talked about, that there's money in boring businesses.
That's
And
right.
I thought that was really interesting. So then when I ran across Dumpster Dudes and I was already watching some real leaders on YouTube, and I'm like, well, this is really interesting. I find Dumpster Dudes, I find other franchises in the dumpster, roll off dumpster rental space. I look at Dumpster Dudes, I'm like, these guys are it. Like, I knew it right from that second. I reach out to them, send them a note. Next thing you know, it's a Sunday afternoon. I'm having a conversation with them. I come out of the rec. I'm sitting at the bar down in the rec room. I come upstairs. My wife's sitting in the kitchen. I'm like, I come upstairs and I said, I figured it out. It's Dumpster Dudes. And she kind of looks at me like, what? And I kind of explained to her. She's like, are you sure? Is that her exact words is like, is that something you'd be proud of? I'm like, oh yeah. So I finished the explanation of it. She's like, I get it.
Yeah.
And then it was just go forward from there.
Yeah.
And but what helped was I had narrowed it down to services. I knew I wanted to be into services, and I wanted something that was easy to understand because I came out of an extremely complex,
Sure.
industry. You've got a military background, was involved in, bank security, uh, some places that were DoD rated. So there's all these, standards,
Yep.
jewelry stores, big corporations. So tons of software and detail. And I'm like, it needs to be easy to understand, something that you can just go replicate. And the other part of the opportunity is the dumpster world is not known for great service. The model that Dumpster Dudes had to offer was really built around service. They had a niche market that was very specialized and very well figured out. And the guy that started it came from trucking, and he sort of just stumbled into this thing, and it sort of took off, and that's
Yep.
why he ended up franchising. And one of the coolest things is you would think these guys that started Dumpster Dudes were from Wisconsin. They're like your buddies up north.
Yeah.
Super cool. They're not big corporate. They're in
Yeah.
it for the entrepreneur. So that's kind of how Dumpster Dudes came to start.
So say a little bit more about the unique part of the unique service model that you just referenced.
Sure. It's definitely built on service, so people can call us or text us anytime. We will always respond. And, we're super easy to do business with. Part of that uniqueness is the dumpster sizes fit residential driveways very well. Most of our business is residential, and it's either coming from a homeowner doing a remodeling project or a homeowner doing a, clean out or an estate clear out, or it's a contractor who's doing work at a residential house, bathroom, kitchen remodel, something like that. And the dumpster sizes fit residential driveways better. Our trucks are dualies, so 6 wheel instead of 10 or 12 wheel semis. So it's
Hmm.
less weight on the customer's driveway. We fit in all those narrow driveways, like, in the North Shore and West Dallas and Wauwatosa. We can also do placements off of alleys where these big trucks, you just can't
Yeah.
do it. So it's a really neat niche. it's an underserved niche. Most small companies over the years have been purchased by the larger companies.
Right.
So there's sort of like a hole in the market for, smaller companies. And we're under CDL, so you don't need a commercial driver's license. The other thing that we do is we are putting down boards under the back wheels of the dumpster and across the front skis. So super careful placing the dumpster on the driveway.
Yeah.
Homeowners love that. They like the lighter truck on the driveway. So it's something where, we're able to get into a lot of places that other trucks aren't able to get into. And it really fits that unique residential need.
Yeah. I mean, I love the fact that you listened to the comment that boring businesses make money, because one of the things that we always work with people on is no matter what your business is, it should get boring, right? Like,
Yeah.
fighting fires and running around like a chicken with your head cut off is expensive in time and money.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so the spot where you can go drop it off, it's making money for you till you pick it up. And
Yeah.
that, I think that's an underrated message. Really great businesses are boring.
Yeah.
They
No,
just
it was when
just
I
run.
heard that, I started digging into that further. I'm like, this makes total sense. Everyone goes, I have a lot of the people that I grew up in the security industry with. Their first question is like, how did you go from
Yeah.
the security world to dumpsters? And
I mean, the
what's
sexy part of business is making money, right? Like the rest of it is
right?
interesting, but
Yeah,
business's job is to
yeah,
support your life.
yeah.
So,
And it was just an interesting comment from my wife along the way as I was kind of bringing this Jumpster Dudes thing together, and I'm kind of bouncing ideas off of her, and we're talking. She's like, all of the experience, everything that you've been through has helped you get to this point where you're really ready to be able to do this,
mhm.
right? When you're 20 years old, you think you know everything and you're ready for anything. It's like you really don't know anything. You have to
Right.
kind of you have to go through those highs and those lows and run into some walls, and then it's like you're
Yeah,
ready. You know?
that's right. One of our sons is about to turn 30, and I remember about 12 years ago, I apparently was the dumbest human being on the planet because he wanted nothing, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
now, as his challenges grow, and he's a parent now, and all of a sudden, hey, we have something to offer again. It's super interesting.
No, it is. I remember in my 30s, well, maybe it was my late 20s or early 30s, going back to my dad and saying, Dad, you did know some stuff. So thanks. Even though I wasn't listening, I kind of was, but thanks
Yeah.
for pointing me in the right direction on stuff. And we got a good laugh out of that.
So, what's your biggest learning so far as a business owner?
The I think one thing that I realized is, business is solving problems, right? So I'm solving problems for customers. Um, and I think I might have heard this somewhere. And, I'm solving customer problems. And I didn't realize that we were going to be working with customers. And some of our customers are going through the worst things in their lives. Somebody passed away, there's a fire, there's
Yeah.
damage. Really, I've worked on some hoarder projects, very emotional, very difficult for families. I've always liked to help people. I think that's been part of my success. But, yes, businesses solve problems, but the other part of that solving problems is, when you're an owner of the business, you're solving problems on a regular basis. And the more you can anticipate the problems, head them off, the more you can handle those problems and situations, and you're prepared for A, B, and C. In our case, it's like, hey, what maintenance needs to be done for the truck? We got to keep the
Sure.
truck moving. If the truck is down, we've got a problem. How do we do this? How do we prevent it? Who are all of our go-to people that we built relationships with, that when we have an emergency, I had a hydraulic leak on a brand new truck last week. It was like, holy cow, I've never seen this. How do I deal with this? Tap a good friend. Boom, I'm there in like 15 minutes. They got me out the door in 60 minutes. I'm back on the road. So it's like that constant problem solving and anticipating that. And I got some really good guidance from the dumpster dudes on that as well. when you start a business, there's so much going on every direction. But a
Right.
lot of those messages they provided, like, hey, you got to be prepared for A, B, and C. It's not a matter of are you going to get a flat tire? You're going to get a flat tire. So how do you plan for that? So that problem solving and being able to rapidly solve problems without freaking out is, I think, the biggest lesson. I guess it never, I guess I always solved problems in business. I just never
Hmm.
really thought about it till recently, where it's like, yeah, my job is to solve problems.
Right. I mean, it sounds like you've enlisted and really grasped the concept of having a good team of other people that you can rely on has been important and get that set up for the
Huge.
business.
Yeah,
So,
it's been incredible, and I'll take a little detour on that story. So a couple of things along that. One was uh, the other small business owners has been unbelievable. I have strangers offering referrals, offering help to me, people I've never met that I've bumped into on social media, people honking and waving at me when they see us driving down the road. I
yeah,
stop for fuel, they pull over, they're like, hey, I saw you on social media. Hey, I've got a referral for you. Like complete, and I knew small business would be amazing, but blown away by all the help, from the people, along the way. Um, and from my business partners to strangers. And a quick story: there's a junk removal company, Junket with J. The owner's name is Jason. I didn't know anything when I opened up, and I'm looking out. I've got like this nice new truck. I've got a yard full of dumpsters. It's like, well, now what do I do, right?
that's
I
right.
had I had reached out to him, and at first he was thinking like, oh well, we're competitors. And I'm like, well, we're dumpsters. You're junk removal. If people ask me for junk removal, I can direct
I'll
them to
call you.
you. And next thing you know, and I mean, he very quickly jumped in, helped me out. I'm a total stranger to him. Helped me out. He has been a phenomenal. He's become a very good friend. We probably talk every day. But those people in the circle, they're unbelievable. I run into a situation. Hey, I got this. I got this house. I'm doing the dumpsters. They need this, this, and this for junk removal. So he'll come in, or vice versa. And he's made some introductions. And especially in the beginning, those introductions, those referrals, like when you have zero sales and
That's right.
all of a sudden you're going up because of strangers helping you out. It's one of the coolest things ever. And it continues to happen. So, we've kind of got several informal groups of people that we do referrals with, which has been amazing. So
What
good.
what would you say to the new owners who are afraid of that? Like afraid of reaching out to people and like what kind of advice would you give them to get over that hurdle of grow your
You,
network?
you just go. And I mean, it's not fancy, but you just go. And I'll tell you what, Jason from Junket with Jay, he started his business a few years ago. This guy just goes all the time. He just goes. He doesn't. It's almost like he doesn't think. He just goes. He's extremely successful. He's got a fantastic business model. I've definitely learned from a lot from him in a lot of our discussions. But like my advice would be just go, and that's kind of what I ended up doing. If I'm filling up with diesel, if I see a contractor, I walk over, I introduce myself, hand them a
Sure.
card. Hey, do you guys rent roll off dumpsters? And when you have everything on the line when you open a business,
That's right.
all I knew how to do was just go. And if I hit a bunch of walls, I could care less. I have to go. I have to grow the business. Um, when I was having lunch with my son the other day, I said, I got one opportunity to get this thing cranking and get it right, and that's what's happening right now. And I'm just the hammers, I'm flooring it, and we just keep going. It's
Yeah.
not, and the people are sometimes hesitant to do that. I think I was doing it out of necessity. I definitely have sales and business development background, so I'm kind of used to it. But I'm like, the alternative is not growing and being successful, which freaks me out to no end. So it's just go, and you'd be amazed at how welcoming and understanding people are, especially when they realize that you're a real business, you're locally owned and family, locally owned, family operated. People want
Right.
business with you and they want to help.
Yeah.
It's like a whole phenomenon on its own.
I think if people really grasped that businesses solve problems and really we're just talking to people about, do you have a problem? It'd
Yeah.
be easier to be brave like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's I mean, I've had people call me like 90 days later that I met at Quick Trip. And they remember me, and
Sure.
and I'm just like, this is amazing. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I need to do more of that because it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. Consistency is what works. And it sounds like you do those things all the time. So
Yeah.
one last question. What's the next big thing for you in your business? Think about the next 1 to 3 years and
Yeah.
what's your top growth area or development challenge?
Sure. It's going to be the balance of buying more equipment and hiring more people. So just in the last, let's say, 6 weeks or so, I went from I'm the only employee to I have 3 employees, or the third one. So yeah, we went from one person to four. The fourth starts on Wednesday. Um, I We purchased our second truck, which we just put into service a couple of weeks ago. We ordered more dumpsters, which arrived 5 or 6 weeks ago. We continue to run out of dumpsters, so we purchased more yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's the balance of the capital expenditure and investments and like timing those. Our business does have some seasonality. December, January are going to be a little bit slower than the main part of the year. But what's interesting is we had built out models for several years. So we knew which points that we wanted to make the investments, both in people as well as additional assets. And we also had a decent gauge on how far in advance we have to make those decisions, because a truck could be 45 to 90
Sure.
days because it's a custom
Custom
upfit.
truck. Yeah.
Yeah. And the dumpsters could be, anywhere from 4 or 5 weeks to 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the time of the year. So you have to make the decisions sometimes before you're comfortable and ready, and because you're trying to time them with growth. But we've also seen, our growth. We're rolling in the last 4 months anywhere from 21 to 43% growth per month. So some of these decisions, as we're sort of stepping up personnel and we're stepping up equipment, it's been
Yeah.
really interesting to see how that goes. But I would say that's going to be, kind of the continued. I mean, one, it's the opportunity, because if you don't have the stuff and you're running out, you're missing opportunity. You have to have the stuff to be able to
Yeah.
continue the growth path. So that's really kind of the wrestling match. But we put a lot of time into that before we even purchased this franchise. And here again, thanks to both of my business partners. One of them's a financial guru, so it's like I have my own in-house, CFO strategist, was
Sure.
able to really, kind of pencil out those models, and that really helped us. So like when we bump into these situations or bump into the wall, we
Yep.
look at the model, we're like, yeah, we predicted this. We're right here, or we're not exactly here, but we're in the neighborhood. So we're ready for the next thing. And, he was even like, when we bought the last set of dumpsters and got them delivered and got all the graphics installed, he makes a comment to me like, okay, we're going to need more. And I'm kind of like, I'm thinking to myself, like, what are you talking about? We
Yeah.
just got these. Well, here we are 6 weeks later. We're buying the next round. So really, for now, for this year, it's execute on what
Yeah.
we have, and then it's planning for next spring, right? So next spring, another truck, another 3 or 4 semi loads of dumpsters, and it's kind of planning for that. But between now and then, we have to continue to ramp. We've got to have that productivity there. But those are really the kinds of things that we're talking about,
Yeah.
and that we're looking at constantly, I
Yeah.
guess.
I mean, fast growth is fun, and as you're experiencing, fast growth is expensive too. So,
Yes.
like paying attention, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's an exciting place to be for sure, though.
Oh yeah, it definitely beats the alternative, but
Yeah,
it is uh, it's it is nice to be able to bounce those things off of my business partners because like as you can't just go spend. You've
right,
got to be able to you got to have those incremental spends matching kind of
right.
how the business is going to grow. But we've been very well received in the market. Our online business is doing extremely well and continues to grow. That's been another, kind of technology slash marketing element that has helped the business.
Sure.
Who would have thought, and I'm thinking online orders, are people going to buy dumpsters online? Well, now we do more in online than we used to do in a month,
I
which
mean,
is
the
like
new generations of purchasers don't want to talk to people. They just want to be able to go online and get what they want.
exactly.
So,
And that's, we wanted to definitely it fits with the Dumpster Dudes brand, being easy to do business with. But we want, so some customers like to talk, they don't want
yeah,
to email
yeah,
or text,
yeah,
and they can
right.
call us anytime. We always return calls if we miss a call. We always return text messages. So we have people interacting with us online, on social, phone call, text, some on email, wherever those customers are and however they want to communicate, we do it all. And that's we you, businesses need to be able to interact with customers, meet them where they're at and the way
That's
they
right.
want to talk.
That's right. All right, Rich. Well, I appreciate your time. I mean, if you guys want dumpsters, you can get a hold of Rich any way, shape, or form 24 hours a day.
That's pretty much
Dumpsterdudes.com,
it.
I'm assuming.
Yep,
Website.
dumpsterdudes.com. Dudes is with a Z at the end of dudes. So dumpsterdudes.com, and we're Dumpster Dudes of Greater Milwaukee. But Coach Mike, loved our conversations, really enjoy it. Thank you for the opportunity to jump on here, and very nice to meet you.
Yeah, great to meet you too.